Hey guys, it's RivaThames and welcome to another episode of Testing the Battlefront. Now, this is going to be a bit of a different series because every single test and every single piece of information is going to be about General Grievous. I wanted to make a Grievous specific video so we can learn as much as we can about him. Now, something I want to start introducing with this series is that I've noticed over the past few episodes that arcade hasn't always got the same features as multiplayer. So sometimes something can be true in arcade and not in multiplayer, and likewise vice versa. So I'm gonna have a online multiplayer piece of evidence for every test that I'll be doing from now, so that you can ensure that it's true and that it works. So we're going to be starting off with, can General Grievous block force powers? That's going to be Luke's force push, repulse, unleash, basically anything that you can think of. But yeah, his standard block, he can. You kind of like stagger backwards a bit, likewise with how every force power does, but you don't take any stamina drain from it, so it's kind of like if you're blocking, then you will actually block that force power, which personally, if you're looking at the lore side of things, it shouldn't be possible. Like a lightsaber won't block force powers, it would have to be the actual person, and Grievous isn't force sensitive, so it's kind of like the lightsabers have just had the same mechanics brought on from maybe Luke or something. So it isn't that lore focused thing, but just know for a gameplay perspective that you can block force powers. So use that to your advantage. Next up, you guys have been telling me all week about it, and yeah, I've realized that SITH trained star cards is the best card for Grievous. Because basically in my damage value video I showed that you can do 260 damage if you hit someone in the back. But if you increase that by using the SITH trained star cards, at an epic level, you can do up to 320 damage in one strike from a lightsaber if you hit someone in the back. 320 damage, do you know how much damage that is? You can basically two-shot a hero in Heroes vs Villains if you wanted to. Leia, Han Solo down in 2 strikes, easily. This could be one of the best things you could possibly know about Grievous, because you can do so much and experiment so many tactics with it. For example, this clip playing with Scott, Phasma is stunning everybody that's coming in. I have then got the opportunity to strike them from behind while they're frozen, and you can just see how quickly I'm taking down people. I've got some clips online and multiplayer of showing this, and it is true. You can literally do this much damage. Believe it or not, you can even one-shot a Wookiee warrior. Now that is a good tactic you want to know. Now going more in depth with Grievous's force block, I guess. Sure, he can block force powers, but because his block is so short, his deflection is completely all over the place, and that's because he isn't force sensitive, so he doesn't really have the skill to deflect it where he wants to. So when he's blocking, he kind of just blocks and pushes it wherever he goes, and that's to represent Grievous as a character. So just keep in mind that if you block, don't expect to get any sort of deflection, because it's they're kind of going all over the place. So just keep in mind that you can't deflect onto a target, it will just go in random locations. This episode is going to be a mix of tips and myth busting, so I'll kind of break it down into different sections to kind of switch it up throughout the video. So we're going to be going into some myth busting for Grievous now, and the first one is going to be, can you use claw rush and kind of rush out of a stun grenade? And stun grenade, I mean shock grenade for Chewie and the disabler for Lando. And it's unfortunate that that isn't possible. You will get pretty much cancelled. You'll be stunned out of your animation, which is really unfortunate, because those two abilities are two of the most frustrating in the game. So if Grievous was able to run past them, then I think that would have been pretty interesting. Next up, we got, can Lando sharp shot a moving Grievous using claw rush? So when he's kind of scurrying across the floor on his legs, can Lando lock onto him? And to my surprise, no. Grievous is actually that bit fast than the lock-on ability. So as you lock on, the distance, well, the time that you're actually shooting that sharp shot to Grievous, he's actually moved on. So it misses in just that split second. So that's a really interesting tip. Maybe something that might not happen too often in multiplayer, but it is possible. Likewise with Finn, his Deadeye ability cannot lock onto Grievous if he is using Claw Rush. He's just that fast down on his 6 legs. So keep in mind that Claw Rush, yeah, you might be running around the floor dealing damage and stuff, but to your, maybe you might not even know that you've been avoiding those abilities all that time. Now, can Rey mind trick a Claw Rush? And basically, what I was expecting, I think the thought behind is would you then switch in the other direction and start moving backwards? And no, you still go forwards. So yeah, the only thing that will change is your left and right will be flipped. So just it's not much of a big deal, but you will continue going forward after a mind trick. Next we got, can you rush through a block? Basically, Claw Rush will it trigger if, for example, Luke Skywalker is blocking. And the damage will be dealt, but the player won't get knocked down. So Luke Skywalker, if he's blocking a Claw Rush, it will prevent him from being knocked down. So you can block being knocked down, but that damage will still apply to him. So it's kind of like a reward for Luke, and something that's still worth using for Grievous. Next up we got Stamina Drain. Now you guys may know a while back that each hero got their unique stamina costs. But for Rey in particular, her stamina goes down very, very fast because, you know, Insight can give you unlimited stamina and Rey doesn't really need too much on default. So this means Grievous can completely just take out her stamina in seconds if you're striking at her. So keep that in mind for Rey. For Luke it takes a lot longer, but I guess it's just one of those things for Rey. Next we got the jump strike, of course, like I showed with Yoda a while ago. Grievous has got quite slow striking animations at times. So you can jump and strike to kind of speed up the process, and since he does so much damage you can pretty much one-shot people doing that. But just keep in mind that the stamina does overheat very, very fast. So for the final myth of the video, what if you 1v1 a Claw Rush with a shoulder charge or a dash strike from Rey? And basically what happens is the two will collide, they will both deal damage to each other. But you guys may know that there's a bug with Grievous, that if you get some kind of physic ability hit on you while you're using Claw Rush, the ability will stop, but the ability's still going, if you know what I mean. So even if you stand up, you will still be dealing damage because the game thinks you are still using Claw Rush. So at the end of the day, you'll end up doing a lot more damage than the person like Han Solo's shoulder charge. So it is a bug, but ultimately the two will collide and deal damage to each other. Not to mention when you actually stand up as Grievous, that will deal damage as well. So for the final things of the video, full damage. Does Grievous take full damage? And to my surprise, I think it's because he has got that force jump, that higher force jump, which is a feature from Luke or Rey, means that he won't take full damage, and he doesn't. So that's something to keep in mind, so that you can jump from a high place with Grievous and not take any damage. And finally, does the breathing of General Grievous change if he has low health? You know how Vader kind of like changes his breathing when he's sprinting, when he's walking, and when he's below 100 health? And I wanted to see if this was true for Grievous, and it isn't, unfortunately. He will still have the same voice lines and kind of effort in his voice that he would have even if he was full health. So that's not really a test, it was just something that was pretty cool to find out, but unfortunately it's not a thing. So that's basically it for testing Grievous. If you have any ideas that you want to share for possibly the next week episode where we just bring everything into the video, then be sure to leave it in the comments down below. Like I said, I want to bring more online and multiplayer evidence into these videos to show you guys that this stuff can be really effective, and that sometimes arcades can be different to multiplayer, because there's a star card for Grievous that is, if you hit one enemy with Claw Rush, every enemy you hit after will deal extra damage. And in arcades, the card completely doesn't work, and it led me to believe that it doesn't work in multiplayer, until Paul John, who has a maxed out Grievous thankfully, showed to me that it does work. So arcade and multiplayer can have different values and bugs between them. So before I tell you guys anything in arcades, I'm going to confirm it in multiplayer to give you the best video possible, and correct information of course. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one on Grievous. My Discord server is in the description below. Join and have a chat with everyone as we lead up to the release of Geonosis and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Thank you to all my Patreons and YouTube membership subscribers. You guys are making all of this possible, and thank you all so much. It's been Riva, and I'll see you in the next video.